Hello, good afternoon. It's been a while. I know I haven't really been on here much, um, and I think that's probably a good thing in some ways. Um, I've been kind of tiring of the news, even from alternative sites, just the constant. It's somewhat repetitive, so how much sometimes. How much can you actually know? But what I wanted to mention today, which I don't think I've ever gone into before, is my story of being RH negative. I did not find out I was RH negative until I was early 40s, 40 maybe, somewhere around there. It came up maybe mid 40s. It came up because my first cousin mentioned getting a Rogaine shot when she was pregnant because she is O negative. And she asked me my blood type, and I said, well, I thought it was O positive, but I had a flashback to having my first child and them approaching me with what was my husband's blood type because he was out of town. And I said A. And they said A negative or A positive. And I said, I don't know. Like, why does that make a difference? Plus, I'm in labor. So I really don't, or being prepped. And I really was not focusing. And they never explained the shot. They never explained that it was for my blood type, not his. And they never explained that they never even said you're negative. They never explained that if you're a female and you're negative and you're carrying a positive blood type baby, that it could kill you and the baby, possibly. And the shot is to prevent that. I had no idea. But I had that flashback to that memory, and I went, oh my God, I could be negative. I had donated blood once before, but then, like I've told you in the past, I've moved so much that if that card even came into the mail to me, I don't think I even paid attention to it. I probably saw O on the card and didn't even register negative or positive as being important. With all the science that I was taught in school, negative and positive was not ever focused on or explained. I do remember in high school them wanting to prick you prick your finger, you put the blood under a microscope. Now, this is prior to AIDS. And from there, you can tell what your blood type is. But I refused to do it. So I used my partner's blood. I was like, I did not like needles at all. I later got over that when my boys were in the accident in the early 2000s. But so I had made it most of my, big portion of my life, 3 children later, and I had no idea what my blood type was. So I ordered the test that you can get in the mail. They, at the time, came, you get 3 at a time, and I think I did it twice and took all 6. See, with my blood type, there is no coagulation of the blood in the testing with the circles. And I thought, well, I've made a mistake. I'm doing it wrong. But no, I'm O negative. I called my father. He was military. He knew immediately he's O positive. My mother informed me that she's O positive, which I think we've got another case of somebody living her whole life not knowing what her blood type is. Her sister is O negative and her brother is AB negative. So I highly suspect she's O negative, unless both my parents carry the recessive negative gene, and then there is a 7% chance I could exist. But with one sibling, full sibling, who is O negative, I know, and the other one who's gone, he died. But I highly suspect with red hair and blue eyes, he was O negative. So, and then I remember my dad asking me, my real father, why is this so important to you? And I said, because, you know, if I'm somewhere, with all the traveling and the crazy things I've done, it's kind of important to know that the only blood I could receive in a transfusion of any kind is O negative. And there's argument as to how many O negatives there are in the world, but the least amount I've heard is 3%, and the most I've heard is 8%. So that's a small number of people that could give me blood if I needed it. And I've been in some isolated places, so that could have been dangerous, and nobody even thinks of it. Also, if you look at literature out there, it's very limited on explaining why there is O negative, A negative, AB negative, B negative versus the positives. And we are such a small percentage in the world. And people try and brush it off as insignificant, but medically it's very significant. Whereas I can only receive my blood type, but I can give my blood to any one of you, any positives or negatives. Actually, they search for it for premature babies. It tends to be the best blood type for healing and for them making it, as far as if they need any kind of transfusion. AB negative is the universal plasma donor, so AB negative can give to any blood type also. And why is it important? Because it marks some sort of difference that happened historically. And I want to know the origin, as I think any of you would want to know the origin. And obviously in time, we look the same. I mean, we've combined, we have positives in our families, etc. But historically, did we look different? Was our culture different? All of that. I mean, what was it? Why was it? This isn't just a physical difference, you know. This is a biological difference, blood. And spiritually and in religions, blood is very much focused on, especially when it comes to the Messiah. But in our materialistic world, with all the advances that we have, they have no idea why. We've been apparently called, you know, alien race, or the bad side, the devil side. They say that a lot of the royals have negative blood, but I'd really want to see proof on that. I'd really want to see proof. And just like there are in the positive blood types, there are people who are evil and bad. There are people that are good. And that would be probably the same for the negatives. There are people that are evil and bad, and then there are those that are good. So I don't think it's that simple. There's always a polar opposite. The yin and the yang, as they say. But I think knowing the origin and things, and they say they come from the Basque region. There was a high population density there. And then North Africa, and they moved north, like into the Ireland, Scotland area, and other areas also. But it's a mystery. And I can't stand not knowing things. But it might be one I'll never know. But we do have similarities in our groupings with the negative blood type. The way we look, now this is just percentage-wise and statistics, but tend to be lighter-eyed, fairer hair, fairer skin, more the difference of more copper in our blood. Tending to set off electrical devices sometimes, turning lights off, turning lights on, light bulbs exploding, phones not working, etc. You just disrupt electricity. That's happened to me before, but not on a regular basis. In literature, they say that we are more, there were studies done where we tend to be more, have more abilities like ESP type things, more intuitive. But since I've spent 52 years not really discussing this with anybody else, how would I know? How would I know? I don't. And that's what kind of gets at me, gnaws at me, things I want to know. And why don't they have more information? I highly suspect, like with everything else, usually the opposite is true. Whatever you see on television, think of the opposite, and you'll probably be closer to being true. Whatever they say is fact, think the opposite, and that's probably closer to the truth. Everything is upside down and reversed. So if they tell me that my blood type being different is insignificant, then I have to believe that there's some importance to it. And that's just my thought. Because it's biology. It's creation. And we didn't just magically appear here. None of us. I don't buy into that whatsoever. And whatever meaning that we were supposed to know and have, they've stolen from us. The way we should have been raised and raising our children, more focused on spiritual and community and unity. We've gone the total opposite direction into materialism and division and selfishness and individuality, and I just, I do what I feel at the moment, and I'm right because that's how I feel type mentality is the way they've gone, which is the total opposite of, I'm sure, the way it should have been. So ultimately, I feel we've all, both negative and positive, the blood types as human beings across this world, I think we've been denied our rightful heritage, our rightful knowledge, and a more peaceful and productive way of experiencing life here on earth. I think we've been denied. And I can't think of it being any more obvious than it has been in the last few years. There's nothing good about any of this. And I think there are those in the human race that don't want a lot of the other part of the human race to even exist anymore, because they're doing nothing to help them. They're only destructive. And I don't think this is what was intended. These are just my thoughts, and I just wanted to share that with you and put this here for, my children in the future, if they ever get to see it. And maybe some of you will get something out of this. I will talk to you later. Have a great day. Bye for now.